Hey everybody, got another video going. Just want to show people how easy it is to do the surface mount soldering even if you don't have a stencil. All you need is some hot air, some flux, got a little flux pen over here. There's not much left in it, but whatever that's there we can use. So this is a 0603 size, the components, so they're pretty tiny. The chips here and here and this one have a really fine pitch, and this is a really crazy one. The way we're going to do that is with the hot air. So the first thing I like to do is just get as much flux as I can on there. What we're going to do, we're just going to put a little bit of solder on the iron, and we're going to just go over every part so it's covered. Then we'll use the hot air after we place the parts, and it'll all just melt into place, similar to the solder paste. So my tip is at 330 degrees. That's usually the temperature I like to use. All you're doing is just kind of rubbing, just going right across the pads. You want to get a little bit of solder on everything. A little goes a long way, because these are small packages. I'm not going to do these inductors, which you see L1, 2, and 3, because I can do this by hand. Same thing with the USB-C over here. You can do it and just heat up the the area there, but that's a pretty easy one to do by hand. Not a big deal. So these three here are jumpers, so we're going to skip those. Nothing really goes there. Alright, everything looks pretty good. You don't want a lot of solder, you just want enough where it'll melt and attach to the part. Okay, so now I'm going to start placing some of the parts. Then I'm going to get the hot air going. Because of the solder on there, it's likely going to fly away once the air starts blowing. So the best thing to do is to start high with the air so it doesn't blow it as without a lot of force, and then come down slowly as the heat increases, and the solder will start to flow better. I'll start with these LEDs over here on the bottom. They won't stay exactly flat where they're supposed to be, which is not a big deal. Because we'll be repositioning them as the solder starts to melt. If you're wondering how I know where everything goes, I got a little cheat sheet on the left, and I got everything laid out, so I just gotta follow the guide. In case you're wondering, this is the new retro PSU that I've been prototyping. This is going to a customer that builds robots, so he's going to do a bunch of testing for me and hopefully give me some feedback for anything I need to change. I think I got a pretty solid design. Well, looks like I made a mistake. This is why it's always good to double check your work. This does not belong there. Oh, looks like I forgot a couple pads at the top. These are kind of a pain. If you have like a suction cup component picker, those are great for this. So I am missing one chip, which I'll have to get. Then I'll just add it later. Not a big deal. But for this video, all I want to show is exactly how you can do this without a stencil or anything like that. So I'm going to fire up my hot air station. 400 degrees. Might want to turn the air down a little bit. I got mine set to about 6. Mine goes up to 8. From 1 to 8. I set mine a little lower. It's about 5.5. Just because I don't want to blow these little components out. So you can see when it already flew. This takes a little bit of time. Gotta have patience. Alright, I'm not sure how much of the video has stopped, unfortunately. I just noticed that it stopped, so this might be kind of a crappy recording. But as you've seen the technique, you just gotta low air and a good amount of heat, and just start high, just to get heat going in the board, and solder will start to eventually melt slowly, and then you can move the parts. I can see that this chip is a little off. See if I could clear it up a little bit. Okay, it's nice and sharp. This is a very weird pitch. You need definitely hot air or reflow oven to do this. Just tap it down a little bit. This one, as I said earlier, I don't have one on hand right now, but it's going to be the same process. Just heat it up and tap it. This looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty decent. So now I'm going to let this cool off just a second, and then I'm going to do the USB-C. The socket is right here. As you can tell, the pins are easy to hand solder. They stick out just enough. These inductors are super easy too. You can do this, with a regular iron. Just do one side and attach that, then you solder on the other side. Same way I would normally do each one of these small components. I do one side, heat it up, lay it flat, and then I'll put solder on the other side. But using the hot air, we could do a bunch of them a lot quicker. So I hope you can see the pads. I don't really have any more flux, although I do have the Amtech flux. I'm going to show that off. That thing is amazing. It's amazing flux. If you need flux, this is the kind you need to use, like on difficult parts. So this is the one that I use, the Amtech VS213. If you're a follower of Louis Rossmann, then he uses one. It's the older model, but it's effective just the same. A little goes a long way. But this thing smokes like crazy. So it's good to put on a fan or some kind of ventilation. I got a little ventilation fan. Hopefully it's not too loud for the video. Let's put some solder on the tip. Just go to town. Once one of the pads is on, which that's pretty solid. Always good to clean your tip. One of the bridge pads. If you can see there, perfect shiny clean joints. And it's a no clean flux, so you can just leave it as it is, or use a little alcohol, golden. I'm going to solder the back of the connections here on the socket so it's nice and solid, the anchor points. Alright, almost done. So we'll start with this middle one here. These are big enough where you don't really need tweezers or anything. They do heat up quick, so you gotta burn your fingers if you're not fast. Alright, so now I'm going to finish off the other side. I generally like to solder on the right side of the pad, whatever way the board's facing me, and then I solder the left. Just a habit. I also don't have the disconnector, so I'm not going to solder that in. It's really simple, it's just two pads and the ones on the side to mount it. So as it is, it's pretty much done, minus that missing chip, which once I get, I'll do the exact same process. I'm going to lay it there and pass hot air until it melts, and then I just tap it down so it makes a really solid connection, and we're good. So I hope you guys learned something from this. You don't need to have stencil or anything like that, or even solder paste. Standard solder and a hot air reflow station will get the job done. So until next time, I hope you guys learned something from these videos that I'm starting to do more of. And if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Thanks.